Hello, welcome to the tutorial on Simplex method. I have taken an objective function with three variables x1, x2 and x3, and the objective function is to maximize the profit. So the objective function can be either to maximize or minimize the profit. Here we are considering a problem of maximization type. Then we have three constraints along with the boundary for the three variables is given as the x1, x2 and x3 should be greater than or equal to 0. That is, the feasible region for all the three variables need to be positive. And if you people can observe, the inequality signs given for the problem are less than or equal to. So all the three inequality signs have been taken as less than or equal to in this given problem. The normal simplex method, the basic version, works for the inequality symbol that is less than or equal to. If the given problem contains the inequality symbol greater than or equal to, or if the constraints are given as equations, we may need to go for the other methods which are built upon the simplex method, such as the big M method or two-phase method. But in this tutorial, we'll be seeing the basic version of the simplex method, wherein all the constraints have the inequality symbols less than or equal to. So given an objective function along with the constraints, the first step is to convert the inequality symbols less than or equal to an equation. So add slack variables for each constraints. That is, wherever you people have less than or equal to, if for this constraint, if I add a slack variable, that constraint would be converted to an equation. So add the slack variables to all the three constraints. For the first constraint, I'll add a slack variable s1, and this gets converted to an equation. For the second constraint, I will again add a slack variable s2. For the next constraint, I will again add a slack variable s3. So all my constraints have been converted to the of type equations, and the boundary values for all the variables will remain as such. Then, since we have added the slack variables here, I need to add the slack variables to my objective function. Therefore, for the objective function, add the slack variables with their coefficient equal to 0. Don't change the coefficient of other variables x1, x2, x3. That will remain as such. Like the coefficient of x1 is 1, x2 is -1, x3 is 3 here. Don't change it. For the newly added variables, that are the slack variables, make the coefficient as 0, 0 and 0. Once this pre-processing has been done, we can construct the simplex table and solve this to get the values for x1, x2, x3 so that my profit is maximized. To construct the simplex table, create columns for each of the variables present along with slack variables. That is, I will create columns for x1, x2, x3 and also s1, s2 and s3. Then I will also create a column for, that is to column to represent the basic variable, and one more column to represent the coefficient of the basic variable, and one more column to represent the value of the basic variable. Now, this column, the basic variable column, would contain the basic variables which form the solution to my problem. So, and this column the value of the basic variable column will contain the values which represent the value of the variable of the basic variables, which would give me the desired solution, that is the feasible and optimal solution. Once these columns are created, then from this objective function, copy down the coefficients of each variable. That is, x1 is having a coefficient 1, x2 is having a coefficient -1, x3 is having 3, and the slack variables are having the coefficient 0, 0 and 0. These coefficients write down at the top of the table. Here. So this is the coefficient for x1, this is the coefficient for x2, x3, s1, s2 and s3. And to start the problem, that is to start solving the problem, since I don't know which are the variables which will get me the actual feasible and optimal solution, I have to start from a basic point wherein I will imagine or else assume that my profit is 0 and I have not selected any variables for my solution. Therefore, I will write the slack variables in the basic variable column. So whatever, for each constraint, I have 3 constraints here. So I need 3 rows, 1 row for each constraint. And from this constraint, I will take the slack variable s1, from this constraint slack variable s2, from this constraint slack variable s3, and I will write it here in the basic variable column. So this is for first constraint, second constraint and third constraint. And these coefficients, respective coefficients, I will copy it from whatever coefficient is present here. Once this is done, now from the coefficients given, the value in the RHS, that is 10, 2 and this 0. These values I will copy it to the column which represents the value of basic variables. So copy this 10 to 0 to this column. And for the first constraint, for x1 it is x1 the coefficient is 1, x2 coefficient is 1, x3 is 1 and s1 is 1. s2 and s3 are not present. These coefficients, write it down for the respective variables in the row 1. That is, x1 is 1, x2 is 1, x3 1, s1 1 and s2 and s3 are 0. For the second constraint, x1 coefficient is 2, x3 coefficient is -1, x2 is not present and s1 and s3 are not present. Coefficient for s2 is 1. These coefficients I will write it down in the second row. That is, for x1 the value is 2, x2 is not present, therefore it becomes 0, x3 is -1, that is -1 is from here, s1 is not present, 0, s2 is 1 and s3 is 0. Similarly, write down the values for next row, that is from the last constraint, 2, -2, x, then 3 and 1. These values 2, -2, 3 and 1. Since S1 and S2 are not present in the last constraint, the values are written as 0. Once all these values have been written, the next step is to calculate the value for Z. So here the Z represents the profit I can get from the basic variable that I have chosen till time. To calculate Z, multiply the value of the coefficient, value present in the coefficient column, and value present in basic variable column. That is, multiply 0 with 10 plus add it with 0 into 2 plus 0 into 0. So 0 into 10 is 0 plus again 0 plus 0. The value of Z becomes 0. So I should multiply C with X and I should sum it up. This will give me the value for Z. Now observe this, the value for Z is taken as 0, meaning I have started by not taking any variables x1, x2 or x3. Therefore, my profit until now is 0. Once the value for this Z is found, next step is to find the value for delta J. Now, to find the values for delta J, multiply for each variables present. That is, I have x1, x2, x3, s1, s2, s3 here. For each of these variables, I should find out the value of delta J. For example, I will start to find the delta J value for x1. Therefore, I should use this column x1 and this coefficient column C. Multiply the coefficient with the value for that variable. So 0 is multiplied with 1, added to 0 is multiplied with 2, added to 0 multiplied with 2. Therefore 0 into 1 plus 0 into 2 plus 0 into 2. Whole thing. So if I multiply and sum this up, I'll get a value 0 that is subtracted with the coefficient present at the top of this variable. So I'll get this whole thing, I'll get 0 minus of this 1. Therefore I'll get a delta J value of minus 1. Now, if I want to find the delta J value for say x2, I'll multiply the 0 into 1 plus 0 into this 0 plus 0 into minus 2, and I'll add all those three. So 0 plus 0 plus 0, I'll get 0 subtracted with whole thing, that is whole 0 minus of minus 1, I'll get delta J value of plus 1. Similarly, continue this for all the variables. So you will end up with delta J values for all the variables 1, 1, minus 3, 0 and 0. Once I have found out the values for all the variables, that is the delta J values for all the variables, I should select the least among them as a key column value. So the least is here -3, -1, 1, -3, 0, 0, 0. Among that, select the least one as least value and make that column as a key column represented by KC, which represents key column. The reason is the delta J values denotes what is the profit I will lose, or else we can say that what is the loss occurred if I do not select any variable. A negative value in delta J represents a loss if I do not select that variable, and a positive value represents a profit if I do not select that variable. Here the value for x3 is -3, meaning if I do not select the variable x3, there will be a loss of 3 rupees or else 3 units for me from that variable by not selecting it. If I do not select x1, then since the delta J value is -1, there will be a loss of 1 rupee or 1 unit for me by not selecting that variable x1. So obviously the more profit can be done by selecting the variable x3 here, which is nothing but the variable which is having the least delta J value. Therefore, we will select the column which has the least delta J value as key column, which represents an entering variable. This x3 will become an entering variable, that is, I should include that in my solution. Next, once I select an entering variable, I should also select an exiting variable. I should replace x3. I should swap x3 with some of the variables, one of the variable present in this basic variable column. For that, the next step is to find out what we called as replacement ratio. To find out the replacement ratio, you should find the ratio of xb, that is the value present here in this column, along with the values present in key column. I should find the ratio of these two. Therefore, this column x divided by key column values b, I will get the replacement ratios, which I write it in the last column. Now, once I get the replacement ratio, that is 10 divided by 1, 2 divided by -1, 0 divided by 3, consider only the positive values. Wherever you get negative values, mark it up as negative, and this is not considered for further processing. From the remaining values, choose the least one. Like 10 divided by 1 is 10 here, and 0 divided by 3 is 0. Choose the least one and mark it up as a key row. So for me here, this is the least value, therefore this becomes a key row for a row which least replacement ratio, and already we have marked this as key column. This element which is at the intersection, we call it as key element. Once I have the key row and key column, this becomes the entering variable and this becomes the leaving variable. and this completes my first iteration in the simplex table. Next, I should stop my calculation only when the delta j values become positive for all the variables. Here, since some of the values are negative, I will proceed further to the next iteration. So for the iteration 2, this x3 will replace s3. That is the first step. So s3 has been replaced by x3, and this coefficient 3 is for x3, which I got it from the top of the table where I have written the coefficient. The same coefficient should be written for that variable. Once this has been written, the next step is from the previous table, this key element which was present, this has to be made to 1. Since the value is 3, to make it 1, I should divide it by 3. So 3 divided it by 3, I'll get 1. So make the key element equal to 1. So here we have noted that the previous value was 3. So divided by 3, you will get 1. Once the key element or the pivot element has been made 1, the formula which you have used to make it 1, apply it to all the remaining variables present in that row. Remaining values present in that row. For example, sorry, not an example, here I made the pivot element equal to 1 by dividing it by 3. So 3 divided by 3, I got 1. Therefore, I should divide the remaining values also by 3. All the row 3 values should be divided by 3 now. So 0 divided by 3, you will get 0 itself. 2 divided by 3, I'll get 2 by 3. Minus 2 divided by 3, I'll get minus 2 by 3. This 0 and 0 divided by 3, I'll get 0. 1 divided by 3, I'll get 1 by 3. So make these changes. I will repeat once more. The first x, mark the entering variable and mark the leaving variable. So x3 will replace s3, write it down. Afterwards, make the pivot element equal to 1. Once this has been done, the same formula which you have used to make this 1, apply it to the remaining elements also. In this step, we have divided the pivot element by 3. Therefore, I will divide all the remaining values also by 3 and I will get new values. This will change the values that were present in the key row. Once this has been done, the next step is to change the values present in the key column, that is here 1 and minus 1, which are present in this key column itself. These values should be made equal to 0. We made the pivot element equal to 1. The remaining elements in that column should be made equal to 0. So here 1, to make it 0, this 1 to make it 0, I should subtract it by minus 1. Minus 1 to make it 0, I should add it with plus 1. That is the next step. So these two will be changed to 0 and 0. So the first one, this 1, I will make it 0. To make it 0, 1 should be subtracted with minus 1. Therefore, the formula is subtracted. Formula will be like this. This is row updation formula. Since the previous value was 1, to make it 0, I subtracted it with minus 1. Therefore, the formula is minus 1 into value present in key row. So, whatever is present in this row, that is row 1, I should subtract it minus 1 into the key row value. Now, key row is nothing but this row. We have already changed this row values. Now, observe this 1 minus 1 into this will be made equal to 0. There, similarly, here I have 10. 10. Now my formula is row 1 value should be made row 1 minus 1 into key row. Therefore, this 10 minus 1 into 0, you will get 10. Change that value. Similarly, this 1 minus 1 into 2 by 3, you will get 1 by 3. Here 1 minus 1 into minus 2 by 3, you will get 5 by 3. Be careful while updating the values. For row 1, take the values from this previous one, but don't consider these values. These values have been already changed to these values. Consider these. So similarly, update for all the variables. So this will update the row 1 values. Now I have updated row 3 and I have updated row 1. Next one, I should update the row 2. Here the value in the key column is minus 1. So this minus 1 I should make it 0. To make minus 1 0, I should add it with plus 1. That is, minus 1 should be added with plus 1 to get 0. Therefore, the row updation formula becomes plus, so I should add plus 1 here. Therefore, formula becomes plus 1 into key row. Then this value becomes 0, and I should apply the same formula for all these values. So row 2 value, whatever was present in this step, previous step, that should be made plus 1 into key row value. Key row value is again this one. So previous step, this value was 2. 2 plus 1 into 0, you will get 2. Then 2 plus 1 into 2 by 3, you will get 8 by 3. Then 0 plus 1 into minus 2 by 3, you will get 0. Similarly, update all the values in this row. So this gets updated to 2, 8 by 3, minus 2 by 3, 0, 0, 1 and 1 by 3. So this updates row 2 value. So the trick here is on how to remember the updation, row updation is, so find out first, to make this 0, minus 1, what should I do? I should add it with plus 1. So write down the formula as plus 1 into key row value. So that row, for example here, minus 1 is present in row 2, correct? I should, to make it 0, I should add plus 1 here to minus 1. So to write on the formula, this row which R2, what you should add? I should add plus 1. So row 2 plus 1 into key row. Key row is default here. So row 2 plus 1 into key row. And this key row and the key row values take down from what has been already updated. That is, already we have changed the value to 1, take down the values from it. Once I have updated all the rows, R1, R2, R3 and all, and the remaining things are same. So the next step, I will find out the value of Z. To find the value of Z, again, follow the previous step itself, multiply the coefficient along with the value of the basic variable, add it up. 0 into 10 plus 0 into 2 plus 3 into 0, you will still get 0. Then next step, find out the value of delta j. For delta j, multiply the coefficient value along with the values of variables and subtract it with the coefficient value. So 0 into 1 by 3 plus 0 into 8 by 3 plus 3 into 2 by 3. Whatever value you get, whole thing minus subtract it with this value 1. So you will get plus 1 here. Similarly, find out the delta j values. Now and check whether all the delta j values are positive. If any one of them is negative, again continue further for the next iteration. To continue for the next iteration, find out xp by kc now again. xp, this column, kc is key column. Key column is nothing but the column having the least delta j value. So divide 10 by 5 by 3, you will get 30 by 5. 2 is divided by minus 2 by 3, it is negative, don't consider. Then 0 is divided by minus 2 by 3, negative, don't consider. Among this, excluding the negative values, the least one is taken as the key row. So this becomes the key row and this is the key column and this becomes the key element. And again perform the same actions. Key element should be made equal to 1. So for the next iteration, since the delta j values are not positive, I should continue further for the next iteration. So 5 by 3 should be made equal to 1. I should multiply it with 3 by 5. So 5 by 3 into 3 by 5, I'll get 1. So this will be changed to 1. And the same operation, that is multiplying with 3 by 5, perform it for all the values in that row. So this row gets updated. Then here I have changed the variable. In the previous table it was S1. This will go off and what was present in the key row, S1 will go off and the key column I had X2. X2 will replace S1. So here I have replaced S1 with X2 and I have written the coefficient of X2 here, and this coefficient is from the top of the table. So this updates row 1. Once this updates, then I should change the values present in key column to 0. So minus 2 by 3, to make it 0 I should add 2 by 3 to it. So change these to 0 and the formula is adding 2 by 3. Therefore for the remaining elements perform the same action here. So minus 2 by 3 plus 2 by 3, it will become 0. Therefore, row 2 plus 2 by 3 into key row. That will be my formula here. Similarly, for the last row, to make minus 2 by 3 to 0, I should add plus 2 by 3. Therefore, the formula will be row 3 plus 2 by 3 into key row. Key row is nothing but this updated row. So this has been already updated. Take the values from here. So apply it to all these values. So this will become 1, these two will become 0, and all these values will get updated. So I have updated row 1, row 2 and row 3. Once this is over, find out Z and again find out delta J. Now if I get all the values for delta J as positive, stop it. And whatever value you have here, this is the required solution. Now the thing to remember is delta J values are positive, represent that the solution obtained is optimal, meaning I have got the optimal solution. In other words, I have got the maximized profit or minimized profit which I need. And once you get the solution here, check out the value of this variables. All these values will be positive. Meaning, if these values are positive, it means the obtained solution is feasible. Meaning, I have satisfied all the constraints and the value range of the basic variables are within the required bounds. And in the final solution, I have obtained x2 and x3. Don't worry about the slack variable. x2 and x3, x1 is not present. And the profit I can get is, maximum profit is 6. So the required solution is Z max will be 6. Since x1 is not there, take it as 0, and x2 is 6 and x3 is 4. So this is the consolidated step of the simplex table. So total we had 3 iterations and the final value was 6. This is the overall brief summary about the simplex method. Hope this helps. Thank you.